Even at the end, I'm talking to Eazy-E, and I go, listen, I've been to Compton. I went to Compton back early in '81 when I first got to L.A. I love Compton. Had a good time there, went to parties there. I understand what you're doing, but this is not something I can put on the air. And I said, but, I'm not telling you to disavow who you are. We don't have to be in accordance with everything. I tell people, what about you and him? We disagree on anything. But why were y'all hanging out? Oh, we were talking. We're disagreeing, and after that, we're still good. I like the fact that we disagree because sometimes I may have to go back and go, maybe I need to rethink this. Hi, I'm Alvin Jones, and I am a culture builder. One of the things I will never forget is meeting and talking to Hank Shocklee doing the new music seminar. And that was probably it was the summer of '88 because that was right before we did the Rap Week, because that conversation inspired Rap Week because Hank was like, you don't play rap videos. I'm like, dude, don't believe me, just watch. I'm going to play a whole week of videos. So if it ain't rap, it's a commercial. So as you know, we were playing music videos, we were playing hip-hop videos, and then N.W.A comes along, and, N.W.A stands for, and that wasn't the words that you could use on television. So, no, I'm going to take that back, because I'm going to tell you something. I remember a couple of times the word niggas was used. One was in Sanford Son. And the story was Lamont got this ticket he felt he didn't deserve, but Fred was pushing him to go and fight it, right? And so before I go any further, this particular episode of Sanford Son was written by Paul Mooney. So you can see where this is going. All right, so Fred is pushing Lamont to go and fight this ticket. Look at Lamont. You got a ticket from a white cop in a blue uniform. You said you were going through a green light, but he said it was red. But you ain't going to fight it because you yellow. So what do you want, man or a box of crayons? So that was just too funny. And if you can understand Paul Mooney's humor, you could get that. So goes to break, comes back. They walk in. And all you see is black folks in the courtroom. Black folks in the courtroom. Then you've got the judge, and then the cop comes in. Because I guess, whenever you write tickets, you have your day and all of these folks in there. So Fred decides he's going to be Lamont's lawyer. And Fred goes, I just got one question. He says, when you going to ticket some white people? And the cop says, I ticket white people. He goes, oh yeah, well, where are they? There's enough niggas in here to make a Tarzan movie. So I just thought that was too funny. But just the whole idea of niggas with an attitude and where they were coming from was so radical. So remember, Bob Johnson didn't like hip-hop in the beginning. And so we were able to get some things, but that was just so antithetical of what we saw hip-hop. We saw hip-hop as young, spirited, and uniting, and this was like way over there. And so I get to the BRE conference, and this wasn't L.A., this was Long Beach. So they had a panel, and we were talking about it. And I don't even know if it was a panel of people talking. It was just an open discussion. So I was there, of course, and people like, oh, and, N.W.A was there and Ice Cube and like, whoa. So there was that whole friction of, well, E.T.'s not playing us. And I'm like, no, we're not. So a lot of times people want to kind of influence you or shame you or position you to do something. So for me, it's like, hey, this is my principle. This is what I got, period. And so it's me and Ice Cube, and I'm looking at the video, and I'm seeing the tension that are between, because I'm like, yo, and everybody's like, and I'm like, yo, and at the end of that, well, even before the end of it, Will Smith goes, hey, man, I ain't saying nothing. He's playing my videos. So even with Hank Shocklee, where we're going back and forth, Ice-T had Colors, that video out from the movie, and Ice-T was like, yo, man, I ain't saying nothing. He playing me. So it was just funny. So even at the end, I'm talking to Eazy-E, and I go, listen, I've been to Compton. I went to Compton back early in '81 when I first got to LA. I love Compton. Had a good time there. Went to parties there. I understand what you're doing, but this is not something I can put on the air. And I said, but I'm not telling you to disavow who you are. I said, it's like with me. I'm Alvin Jones. I'm doing the Quiet Storm. I'm at BET. I can't go to my old neighborhood and say, hey, this is me, Alvin Jones, Quiet Storm, BET. And they're like, dude, yeah, we know who you are. Remember when nobody would pick you because you didn't have no basketball game? Remember you used to miss the bus and my mother would pick you up on the side of the road. So I said, you gotta stay true to who you are and don't change. So there was dialogue with that. And it's, to me, I don't have to agree with you to talk to you. We don't have to be in accordance with everything. I tell people, what about you? We disagree on anything, but why were y'all hanging out? Oh, we were talking. We're disagreeing, and after that, we're still good. It's like you and I can be cool whether we agree or not. And actually, I like the fact that we disagree because sometimes I may have to go back and go, maybe I need to rethink this. Or if something happens, I'll go, oh, because even with Prime, when Prime Heidenstausen, the person who calls me the Black Obi-Wan Kenobi, when he was talking about hip hop and nobody wanted to listen, I'm like, I'm going to listen. You're saying something. And to me, it's with people, even people who have mental health problems, there's a reason. There's something that's going on with them. We notice, you ever notice there's a lot of people who have mental health problems who live on the street who are veterans? See, we glamorize service and being a veteran, but what you don't understand is when people make that commitment, they don't know what's going to happen. Like they say, war is hell. And what happens is the people who are having these patriotisms about what they want to do for their country, and they see someone die, they see that they can turn around the corner and a little kid has a gun pointed at him, and he's got to make a decision whether to kill the kid and save his life, or to see someone's limbs blown off. None of that is normal. And so when you do this and you do your duty, because only 1% of Americans are in the service. And when you do this and you lose a limb or you have post-traumatic stress syndrome, those are things that affect you. And so a lot of times we don't even take in consideration. I always say, in America, we say that we care about our homeless, we care about our veterans, and we care about our elderly. And if you look at it, the three groups that we abuse the most and we don't give the proper service to are our veterans, our children, and our elderly. So we got to do better at that. I just want us to be better as human beings, and it's not that we can't do it. If I could just click my fingers like, okay, now we're going to do better. What's interesting when people say media, media is the plural of medium. Just like you have a stadium, and if the one's next to it's called a stadia. If you have one bit of information, it's datum. If it's more, it's data. So it's a multiple. So when you look at media, it is the ways that we communicate. So we always call it the press because back in the day when this country was being formed, the way that you did get information out is a printing press. You would get information, you'd press it onto the paper and go. So the press means everything, all different types of media to get things out. So the press is television. The press is radio. But the press is anyone who wants to get that information out. So it's not just NBC or ABC or the Washington Post or the New York Times. The press itself is any individual that says, I want to get a message out. Now, it's changing because a lot of people don't do the due diligence of making sure that what they say is journalism. Some people are giving you gossip. If you watch Fox News, there are a few people like the Neil Cavutos and the Brent Bears, but everybody else is gossip. He used to always kill me, your boy Tucker Carlson. And I wish I could if I could ever have a conversation with him. Hey, Tucker, remember all those times you bring up stuff? Well, I don't know if this is true, but it could be. And what about this? And I don't know. And I'm like, well, dude, you work for a news damn organization that has researchers and editors. So why don't you do the goddamn research before you bring it up? Don't come on television and say, well, I don't know if it's true, but it could be, but I'm not sure. And that just tells me you're an asshole. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. I was raised to be a journalist. I remember, the Walter Cronkites, the Huntley and Brinkley's, the Peter Jennings, the Max Robinsons, the Ed Bradleys. And so in this whole thing of media, there's so many different ways to get the message out. But what I really want is make sure the message is the truth. Or, if it's fiction, say it's fiction. A novel is different from a biography. And so I think a lot of times people are telling these narratives and they're trying to put you in a certain scenario. But also what's happening is this is a capitalistic system. So the bottom line of it is it's about money. How do we sell this? How do we present this? And so always remember everything that comes to you for the most part is someone's trying to sell something. There's always money involved. Even if there's always a product. So say if you go to Twitter, and you don't have to pay for Twitter, you may not have to pay for Facebook, that means you're the product. Because if you're not paying for it, someone's paying for you for your access. So that's what I just find interesting these days, how different ways are going for people to promote their products. And some people can go direct. What I saw is with the formats, the good thing. So, for example, if I got a gospel station, radio station, or a gospel channel, I know who I can advertise to. It could be funeral homes. It could be these things. If I got a sports channel, then I know I can advertise sports gear and workout gear. If I'm doing a seniors channel, of course, we're talking about hey, do you want a walk-in tub? So what's been happening is these things are all targeted toward the demographics of the consumer. And let's go back to what Bob Johnson said. Bob Johnson said, real simple, my goal is to make BET the predominant source for advertisers to reach the black community. So let's look at black radio. You've got oldies radio, you got hip hop, you got Christian, you got talk. But at one time, all of that was the same. In DC, you had WOL, so you'd hear music, but you'd also hear Petey Green, and you could hear Grover Washington Jr., but you'd also hear Smokey Robinson and the Miracles. You hear Edward Hawkins singers. You would hear Hugh Masekela. So what's been happening is, as we get these different little smaller bandwidths, it's more for the targeting of commercial product. But what that does, by having these little small silos, we're not as well-rounded as we used to be. It used to be that, grandma would be listening to the radio with you, and she'd play an oldie song that you liked. But now, if you're in the hip hop, you just hear that. Grandma's listening to gospel, and Uncle Joe is listening to jazz. And so those formats, although you may think they're just for that type of music that you want, you're the product. And it's set up so that they can selectively sell you what it is they want to sell you. I was asked what advice I would give to creators. I'm not giving anybody any advice, but I will say this. Find out what makes you happy. Dig deep. Sometimes it's going to be painful, but go ahead with that. There's some things that you do that just aren't going to work, but that's okay. I have artists that I know who have songs that they have to play every time they perform, and they do because of the money, but they have songs that didn't sell as well, but they love more because they're more passionate. So as a creator, just do that. Create. You were created by a creator in his creation to be creative. So just create. And if you don't want to create, Cree 9 or Cree 10, just take it to the next level. If someone asked me, Alvin, what made you successful? I would say, one, gratitude. I would say, and this is a combination of two, parents and family. And I would say attitude. I was told in high school that your attitude determines your altitude. So if you're looking for something to go right, that's what you're going to find. If I had a chance to talk to the young Alvin Jones, I would say, it's going to be all right. Stay the course, have fun. You're going to have some ups and downs, but it's going to be okay. Hey, I'm Alvin Jones. Welcome. You are experiencing 24/7hh.com.